We're in Austin for Consensus today with Genzio, and today I'm gathered with Cindy from Drift. Hi, Cindy.
Hello, hey, thanks for having me.
I met you a while ago, but I never quite got to learn your story, how you got into crypto,
hmm
and what you were the most interested in. So, share a little bit with me.
Yeah. So I got into crypto in 2017.
Hmm.
I was living in Korea at the time, and similar to other founding stories in the space, I discovered a huge trade at the time. So I was buying Bitcoin in the US and selling it in Korea. And I was a bit skeptical of the whole crypto thing initially, but when I realized that these were real markets, so there's real liquidity and there's real ways to make money via arbitrage, that really piqued my attention.
What year was this?
This was 2017
Okay.
when the premiums were like 30% across the board, due to obviously a lot of regulatory factors, but that made me really interested in just learning more. So I dive really deep into white papers, Ethereum, a lot of the ICOs back then, and it was probably the most energizing space I had like come across for a long time, as it was the intersection between markets and technology, and I really felt that as someone who grew up in Malaysia, that I felt like this technology could really help people living in countries where we don't have stable, financial systems.
Hmm.
So yeah, I then started a prop fund for the next couple of years, raised about 30 million for it, and ran that until 2021, where I realized that I wanted to build a decentralized version of all the trading exchanges that I spent so much time trading on.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where the founding story of Drift came from.
At what point did you go from, yeah, this industry is kind of like a scam
Yeah.
to to actually like seeing that potential, for example, in the example you shared with Malaysia?
Yeah, I was meeting a lot of founders back in the day. So I remember meeting the founder of Kyber,
Mm,
and the founder of Republic Protocol at the time. They were
yeah.
doing really interesting stuff. It was like dark pools on Ethereum and permissionless AMMs at the time, and that opened my eyes to what DeFi could actually enable within crypto. So it wasn't just using it as a way to send money around. It was also what can you do with your capital on chain.
Mm,
So yeah, I realized that there were really smart people who had conviction in the space, and that made me think, okay, they can't be wrong, right? Like
yeah.
these people collectively all have something very important to do and say in the space.
Mm-hmm. And you decided to launch Drift on Solana. What led you to that decision?
Yeah, so we ideated Drift in early 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And this was when there were actually no other L1s live at the time, besides Ethereum and Solana, and a couple others that you couldn't build smart contracts on. So our mission was always to be fully decentralized from day one. And so when we were comparing, block times, block speeds between Solana and Ethereum, we realized that there was no way that we could build a high frequency, high performance perp exchange on L1 Ethereum. Obviously, this wasn't the case, and this could be built if you made a lot of trade offs with, like for instance, if you built a completely off chain settlement mechanism.
Mm,
But we decided on Solana because it was the fastest at the time. It was already live, and even back then, there was a strong developer community that was growing around it. I remember seeing the hackathons back in 2021. I think there were already a couple thousand people competing. It was a difficult language and difficult chain to build on because you
mm,
had to use Rust, which was not a lot of people had that skill set versus Solidity. But the challenge of doing it actually made developers more interested in going into the ecosystem. So overall, from a security, speed, and efficiency standpoint, we decided
mm,
to go with Solana.
mm-hmm. How did you meet David, your co-founder?
We met in 2018.
Okay.
He was working at a VC in Singapore,
Mm-hmm.
and I had just stumbled into crypto at the time. We had a couple of mutual friends who introduced us to this idea of DeFi, smart contracts, Bitcoin, and I remember I think we did one deal together. Um, and we were like, okay, this is not so bad. Let's continue to work together on other stuff. And one thing led to another. We decided to start a trading firm together. And then, yeah, we realized that we complement each other a lot. He's on the operational side and more on the trading focus side. And yeah, we decided to continue.
Yeah, you do like work, seem to have like good chemistry, like working together. Um, what were some of the biggest blockers like building an exchange? It sounds like something really robust to bring together.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the difficult part with what we've done is introduce cross margin and cross collateral on chain. So, what this means is with other perp exchanges, you typically can only use USDC as margin or USD margin. But we believe that traders wanted to use multiple types of collateral.
Mm.
And so that you don't have to, let's say, sell your BTC or sell your ETH in order to get into a delta neutral position. So we did what a lot of people thought was impossible on chain, which was bring this cross margin system on. That took months to build and just to not even not even from a technical perspective, but thinking about risk. Like how do we make sure that, very illiquid assets don't get marked to the same as a USD stablecoin? How do we discount for risks in certain assets? Like for instance, we have even some meme coins like WIF or Bonk as collateral on our platform,
Okay.
which some people might think is crazy. But when you've discounted it enough, it actually doesn't add a lot of risk to the system. So a lot of our time was spent thinking about cross margin, thinking about how we make the order book as fast as possible, which obviously you have to work with the constraints of Solana and the constraints of being on a blockchain. Like we can't change the block times, but we can work around it and build efficiencies around that. But yeah, there was a lot of challenges around the fact that we weren't actually building from a system from ground up. We were working with a system that already existed.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, all around, it was a difficult journey, and it still takes us a lot of time in terms of maintenance. But we think we made the right trade offs at the end of the day with how much people love using our cross margin and exchange.
How did the market react when you built something
Yeah.
that people thought it was impossible, right?
Yeah.
Like how did the market react to that?
People were very excited about it. And I think to some extent, because it's so complex, it's still underappreciated, right? It's
Okay.
like I had no idea like how this thing actually works, or I have no idea like how complex or crazy it is. So
Mm.
I think part of it is actually telling the story of how these
Yeah.
things are built. And I think a lot of builders don't really get the credit of like doing something like that people previously thought was like not possible.
Mm.
But overall, I think we had really good market reception. The people who know, but it's typically like reserved to a very more like group of traders that know about this existing. Our challenge is packaging this into a simple way to tell the world. And being more mainstream about why this is important,
Yeah.
like why this is groundbreaking. So yeah.
Did you take um did you take advice from people in the industry as you were building it, as you were shaping what the product would be?
Yeah, for sure. We're very lucky to be supported by a big group of great investors and backers, some of which have built perp exchanges themselves. So Arthur Hayes is one of our advisors. We were advised by a lot of traders in the industry as well. Our core belief is just that you need to go where the market is going and where it's evolving. And sometimes traders who have been used to a current system may not be able to tell you like the kind of the best advice like moving forward, because you're literally building something that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot of conflicting advice on like what to build, what to not build. And our core philosophy has been, don't just build what has been built before, and don't try to replicate like NASDAQ on chain, because you're actually building something that hasn't existed. So yeah, anything from like permissionless markets. What does crypto uniquely enable that traditional markets don't? That has always been a driving force in what we do.
Mm. So Solana was put to test last year, I feel, sentiment wise,
Yeah,
and I feel like the industry really split. It was already like a bit
yeah,
split. Ethereum versus Solana has always been a big match within the industry. But I feel like last year there was really this strong negative,
Mm.
uh, like shadow over it.
Oh yeah.
And it stayed resilient, but back then we didn't know. Did you feel like maybe you should consider moving to another chain?
Yeah, absolutely. And going back to the advice piece that you're talking about, like every single meeting we were taking at the time, whether it was market makers or VCs, were telling us to get out of Solana. They were like,
Mm,
Solana's TVL is like literally only 200 million now. It's down 80% from peak. It's never going to recover. And it's a very sentiment driven industry. So people are not
yeah.
always the most like logical about things. It's like, okay, well, how much further can it actually go? Or like, does the tech still work? And we strongly believed, from a technical perspective, that it was the best place to be. So we didn't really entertain a lot of this advice that we were given to get out because we knew that what we were building couldn't be built anywhere else.
Mm,
So it came from a deep technical foundation versus focusing on like, okay, this thing has hype now, let's move here. And we think that that kind of strategy will lead a project to failure at the end of the day if you don't have strong convictions about like what
yeah.
or where you're building. So yes, it was very difficult because I think for that whole year last year post FTX, and we launched our V2 the day FTX went down. So it was extremely hilarious timing actually.
Okay.
Trying to get market makers to trade, they were like, we don't want to. The very same market makers are now our biggest traders today.
Yeah.
So it does take a bit of sentiment shift and tide shift, but overall, I think if the technology is robust and the community has storied history around it, you kind of
Hmm.
emerge stronger. You just need to have conviction during the most difficult times. It's the same thing as taking a trade, right? It's like the best entry points is actually at the lowest of community sentiment. So I think it's the same for being a builder as well. You need to be able to make bets and stick with your bets when things get tough.
A very clear, yeah, I totally agree with that view, not following the trend and sticking to the very first reason why you picked the chain. It makes
Yeah.
total sense. What is the long term um goal, perhaps for you, perhaps for Drift?
Mm, yeah. For Drift, I envision a truly seamless like, trading experience and a world where no one needs any permission on what they're allowed to trade and what they're not allowed to trade.
Mm,
So marrying the best of traditional finance, bringing anything and any asset that's tradable on chain. So our philosophy has always been we don't care who our users are. It's just you're building this platform that anyone can build on top of and they can use without any restrictions. So you'll never have to fill in KYC. You'll never have to be told what you can trade. You'll never be told that you can't take your assets out of the platform. That's the vision, the goal that we're building towards. So looking to bring more RWAs on board, working on more asset issuance. We see a very interesting landscape where you can trade anything from like meme coins to commodities to bonds on chain, and we want to be the home and the financial center of the future, I guess.
mm-hmm. You recently, like during Token 2049 in Dubai, you launched the token. That was a very exciting moment, I imagine.
Yeah.
Could feel it. Um, is there anything exciting coming up soon?
Yeah, we have a lot of really cool partnerships with some traditional institutions in bringing assets on chain. So think, money markets, very, very cool instruments that previously were not seen before. And using our cross margin system, we're excited to introduce a couple of new assets to be traded too.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be able to drop some more information on this very soon. But yeah, I think that that's kind of the start of our journey into blending more of the institutional world with DeFi. A couple of more interesting things that we're doing is focusing on permissionless listings.
Mm-hmm.
So anyone will be able to create, a market on the exchange with the launch of governance. Now you can actually suggest things like staking. There's actually a live proposal to introduce staking of the token itself, where you can now use the token to earn less reduced fees on the platform.
Okay.
So very excited for these proposals to add more utility to the token. We're excited for us to bring on a lot of new assets. Lastly, because it's election season,
Yeah.
everyone's looking to trade these presidential meme coins or prediction markets.
Yeah.
So we're going to be launching a big campaign on bringing all of these election meme coins as well as election prediction markets on our platform. So yeah, we're really just keeping up with what people want to trade, where there's volume. We want to be the source of that volume, and yeah, continue to make a lot of changes to speed and efficiency of the platform.
Mm-hmm. It sounds exciting. For everyone watching, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter. I'm at Cindy Leow TT. That's Leow. And to find Drift, you can search us up on Twitter as well, or our website drift.trade.
Cindy, thank you.
Thank you so much.